As we continue with the NFL scheduling, or the NFL schedule that it just received, or it just came out, we cover now the AFC East. Shane O'Mac is joined with me. I am Joe the Fan from Just Win Bets, baby. And Shane, we're going to cover the AFC East, but first off, we're going to cover which I'm predicting is going to be the AFC division champions, and it's not the Bills. So we're going to bring it up right now. My selection would be the New England Patriots, my friend. The New England Patriots, of course, you can see here that we have a total of, a few things here that we want to point out. They've got a Sunday night football game, which will be in Week 5. We'll get to that in just a second, but let's cover the first 7 games here. We have, of course, they start off with Week 1 with the Las Vegas Raiders in Week 1. Then they go away to Miami, come home with Pittsburgh, all 1 o'clock games, guys, as you can see that there. Then they stay home for the Carolina Panthers. They go at Buffalo on that Sunday night game. That's what we talked about. That's going to be a good one. And then, of course, they stay away from home at New Orleans and then at Tennessee. The way that I see it, Shano, it's, I would say...
I think that's a pretty favorable.
Yeah, I'd say 5-2.
Schedule. Yeah, that's a pretty favorable schedule. There's no super tough teams there. I think some things on the schedule really benefit them, like playing Las Vegas Week 1. They're having a new coaching staff come in there with Pete Carroll and company. Catching them on the early side rather than the late side in the season, I think would be beneficial. And then we went up to Week 7, right? That's a pretty, even though they're both away at New Orleans, Derek Carr just retired.
Right.
And then that Titans game, Mike Vrabel's going to be pumped up for because the Titans fired him.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I see, like I said, I see a 5-2. It could possibly be a 6-1 right there. Continuing on the next 6 right before the bye, they come home after that 3-game away stretch there, and they come home. They take on the Cleveland Browns and the Atlanta Falcons back-to-back at home, both 1 o'clock games there. Away at Tampa Bay, again, another 1 o'clock game. Then they go home on a Thursday night game. So it's that short rest from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming from Tampa Bay coming home. They host the New York Jets on that Thursday night game. Then at the Bengals at 1, and then home on a Monday Night Football, it's New England Patriots with the New York Football Giants. And then they hit the bye. So for me, I'm going to go again. This is another favorable schedule or a stretch for the New England Patriots, I should say. Maybe a 4-3, maybe another 5-2. So overall, a 10-4 going into the bye.
Yeah, you have a couple tough games in there, right? Like at Tampa, that's going to be a tough game. Bengals are always a tough out, right? So that's going to be a tough game for them because they can score with the best of them. So those are definitely 2 games I could see them losing, not easily, but could see them losing. But overall, it's a pretty favorable schedule for the Patriots, and I think they'll be in pretty good shape up to that point in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. We finish off when they have the bye. Now, this is a late bye for New England. They have it on Week 14, but then they go home on a 1 o'clock game, which could be pushed to a 4 o'clock. When they get towards the later half of that NFL season, they start to changing a couple of the dates and the time. Not the dates, but of course the times to make.
Yeah, those flex games start to come. Those flex games start to come in around that time.
Yep.
Based on when what division matchups start looking like and who's the division leaders. I think if they're both a game or so apart from each other, that would definitely be flexed.
Absolutely, and then of course, so they'll host on December 14th the Buffalo Bills. Then they go 2 away games. This is a tough one for them. They're going to go to the Baltimore Ravens, and then at the New York Jets, and then they finish TBD against the Miami Dolphins. So again, that could be a 1 or maybe a 2-2 right there. So overall, my prediction, as I'm calling it, the AFC chance, which is already at 700 plus 700. for them to win the AFC East is when it opened up. So I'm thinking 12-5, maybe 11-6. Maybe I'm drinking too much of the Kool-Aid there.
So some things that can go into that, right? So, overall, they have the 30th easiest schedule in the NFL based on teams' records from last year. Obviously, teams improve and stuff like that, but the NFL kind of hooked them right there. For Mike Vrabel coming in for his first year as head coach as the Patriots for the Patriots, but 30th overall easiest schedule. There's a pretty soft schedule if you look at it. I mean, they have some tough matchups, but overall, it's a pretty soft landing spot for him in his first year. I agree. Those last 4 games, I could see them losing to Baltimore. I could in the Bills games. I think they'll probably split this year, so they'll go probably win one and lose the other. And then they have the Dolphins at home in New England, and you know how they fare in December, especially in a cold weather city.
Sure.
So I think that'll be a win there for the Patriots to wrap up the season. I have them probably around 10-7. That's what I was thinking.
Right.
But I could see them getting to 11 or 12 wins.
Yeah, so we're not far off on that. Let's move now to the Buffalo Bills. No one circles the wagons but the Buffalo Bills, but apparently, based on my prediction, someone will. So here we go with the Buffalo Bills right here. We've got a total of 4. They have the early bye in Week 7, Shano. We've got, of course, a total of 6 games. They have a lot of primetime games, and it's well-deserved. They start off with the Baltimore Ravens Week 1 on that Sunday night. Then they go at the Jets at a 1 o'clock game. They'll host a Thursday night game. So, again, that short rest very early on in the season against the Miami Dolphins. It'll be 3 games that they'll be hosting. Home against Miami, home against New Orleans, and home against on a Sunday night again against the New England Patriots. So, and then they go on Monday night. It's one of those double headers, Shano, against the Atlanta Falcons. So you're talking about a total of 4 of their first 6 games are primetime, nationally televised games. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot in the first 6 weeks of the season. Like you said, it's well deserved. I mean, they've been in the playoffs for multiple years in a row now, right? I mean, basically, the biggest concern for the last few years is just trying to get past Patrick Mahomes, right? So, I mean, but 4 in the first 6 weeks, that's a lot. That Ravens game, that should be like a straight up measuring stick contest right off the bat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish that game was a little bit later in the year, maybe like week 5 or 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there.
Right.
So those teams are already in like full stride, and we can see like a true like what they are competition. Because as you know, like with teams not playing as much in the preseason, stuff like that, usually those first 2 weeks of the season, offense is a little bit still off, a little bit sloppier, stuff like that. But it still should be a good game. I'm looking forward to it. For sure.
When you're looking at the schedule, Shano, are you concerned about when the buys are going to be? So now for Buffalo, they have that buy on Week 7, but is it too early? You don't want it that late if you're an NFL team. You don't want it that early. You want it right in the middle, so to speak. But again, you've got the Buffalo Bills who have like another 11 games left after the bye.
Yeah, that's tough. Especially because they're going to be a playoff team. If they don't win the AFC East, like you're predicting the Patriots, I still see them making a wild card probably. So I mean that's a long stretch, and if you're a wild card team, you're definitely not getting a bye week, right? So I mean that's a long stretch, and then going straight into the playoffs. I think it is a little early. I usually like my bye weeks around week 10ish.
Right.
But at the same time, you have all those like late games, those primetime games. Maybe it's a good refresh after all that, because I think they only have one more primetime game after that. I'm looking at the schedule.
Yep.
One more primetime game after that, so it could be a refresh and be like, all right, now here we go back to our usual type schedule games, and let's get rolling.
So we finish off with the last 11 game for the Buffalo Bills at Carolina, home against the Kansas City Chiefs. Who were the AFC champs. So, again, that's going to be that revenge game that you talked about before when it came to Vrabel. At Miami, home against Tampa Bay. Then they have 2 games away, which is at the Houston Texans, at the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you mentioned the additional Thursday night game or another primetime game. That's going to be in Week 12 for them on November 20th. But then they have, of course, that Black Friday November 30th, which is against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's that 10-day rest until they play the Steelers. Then they come home against the Cincinnati Bengals. They go at the New England Patriots, at Cleveland, and then here's a tough one. And this might be a time we talked about where the time might be shifted here, which is Week 17. They host the defending champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's on Fox, but I guarantee you, this should be moved. It says 1 o'clock, but it should be moved to 4:25. And then, of course, they end up the season home against the Jets, and that's usually where they're sitting everybody.
Oh, yeah. That Week 17 game for the Eagles, I don't know why it's a 1 o'clock game, maybe because they're just both East Coast teams, and that's just traditional how it's done. But that late in the season with those two like high caliber teams, that's definitely probably going to be flexed to at least 4 o'clock. I could see the NFL maybe trying to push it to a Sunday night game, but I don't see Fox giving that game up. Yeah,
absolutely. Go ahead.
Oh, just something I'm looking at here is just that they play like a murderer's row of quarterbacks this year. They play Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. They play Burrow. They play
Drake May twice.
Potentially Rodgers if he goes to the Steelers. That's still rumored. Who knows? CJ Stroud. They playing some high end quarterbacks. So that's like see if Josh Allen can reclaim that MVP title again.
Yeah, but don't sleep on, like I said, Drake May. I mean, he had but he was showing some signs of improvement towards the end of the season. Now that they've got Vrabel, you never know what could happen. You've seen with the Washington team with Daniels, what he did as a rookie, because if you have the right coordinator, and I'm just using Washington as an example. You never know.
But yes, like CJ Stroud's in the same boat, right? He came out the gate swinging, right?
Yep.
They have the Miko Ryans that worked out the perfect head coach for him. And then he had a slight small step back to his second year, but still a great year overall. And like he's coming out swinging. I think Drake May is going to be on more of an uptick. I think because like near the end of the year last year, he was definitely progressing very nicely.
Absolutely. We push it now to the New York Jets, Jets. And you can see here, this is where they have a favorable bye, which is on Week 9 in November 2nd. You talked recently about with the Buffalo Bills, where do you want that bye if you're an NFL team? Do you want it in the beginning? You want it in the end? Here, they're right smack down in the middle. But let's talk about the first 8 games that they have. They have home against the Pittsburgh Steelers, home against the Buffalo Bills, so it's back-to-back home games there. Then they go to Tampa Bay. Then they have a Monday Night Football. And again, this is one of those doubleheaders that the ESPN and the NFL like to do. They have to do those doubleheaders there. So they'll have a 7:15 at Miami, home against the Dallas Cowboys, home against the Denver Broncos. And that's that Denver Bronco game that they're going to be playing over at London during a time where Tottenham Hotspurs, that's where the stadium that they're going to take this, they're going to play this game. But keep in mind, as a soccer fan, they have their season going on too. So it depends on how that field is going to be for both teams, the Denver Broncos and the Jets. The last 2 games before the bye, they have home against, and that's another interesting thing, is usually when you have a overseas game, you go right into the bye right after that, but not for the Jets. They fly back home from London and they play the Carolina Panthers, so it could be a little jet lag there, and then they have at the Cincinnati Bengals. So you have a total of 8 games before the bye. Your thoughts?
Yeah, they kind of got screwed on that London game, right? So coming home, like you said, they usually have that bye week. I think like because they share the stadium with the Giants, I think like it's scheduling hell for the NFL, right? Trying to figure out when to play each one of those 2 teams there.
Sure.
And I think that might have something to do with it. But like that, yeah, that's kind of screwed them over. And the Panthers, I mean, they haven't been good the last few years, but Bryce Young showed some promise near the end of last year, and you got to see if they can build on that. And then that could be, like you said, a jet lag game where the Panthers will beat them.
So we finish after the bye week here. So they go into the stretch. So again, the bye is in the middle of the schedule for the Jets. So they host after the bye. They host the Browns. They go to New England Patriots on a Thursday night game there. Then they go to Baltimore at a 1 o'clock right before Thanksgiving. Then, of course, they have that Sunday right after Thanksgiving. They host the Atlanta Falcons. They host the Miami Dolphins. Then they go to Jacksonville in December, in middle of December there. Then they go to New Orleans on December 21st. They come back home for the New England Patriots. And then, of course, a to be determined away game for the Buffalo Bills. You never know. The Jets could have an opportunity. But what's your overall prediction? What do you consider, based on what you see here, what do you think that they'll end up being?
I think the Jets have a solid team. It's just all about what they get out of the quarterback play, right? Like they built a decent team to hopefully build around Aaron Rodgers the last 2 years. And then 2 seasons ago, he tore his Achilles the very first game. Was it 4 or 5 snaps into the game?
Yep.
Something like that, right?
Yep.
And then thankfully they're not on so many primetime games now. They had them stacked up on primetime games, and it was like, and they were terrible. And I was like, oh my God, do we have to watch another Jets game?
Yeah.
But but their defense is good. They have some good playmakers on offense. I don't see them making the playoffs, but who knows? I see them more as maybe like a 7-win team, 7-10.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking 6-11.
Yeah.
There definitely odds are out there of, over and under 6.5 or 7.5 on the on the New York Jets overall record. But again, injuries did bite them, as you said 2 years ago. Last year, it wasn't the quarterback play? Was it the defense? Obviously, they let go Salah middle of the season, or towards the beginning. I don't know, what was that, week 7, week 8 when they let him go?
Yeah.
So something like that. But
and it was also Aaron Rodgers was starting quarterback and GM and team president, trying to do it all for some reason, and they just let him have like all control.
Hey, that's what happened when you ask for $50 million, and I believe that's what the report is, that he's asking for to join Pittsburgh. He ain't gonna get that. There's no way. There's definitely no way.
The Steelers aren't known for paying people either.
Correct.
They're not the team that usually throws money at people.
We finished the AFC East with the Miami Dolphins. So the Miami Dolphins, again, have a late bye here. They have it at week 12, but let's run down the schedule real quick. We have at the Colts, home against the New England Patriots, and then they have that Thursday night game, so that's that short rest there that we talked about. At Buffalo, home against the Jets, at Carolina Panthers, home against the Chargers, at the Cleveland Browns, at the Atlanta Falcons, and then they have that 3-game stretch, which includes one that is, of course, overseas in Spain, where they host our beloved Washington Skins. So they have home against the Baltimore Ravens on a Thursday night. They play home against the Buffalo Bills. Then they are the home team when they go to Spain against the Washington Skins. So that is a total of 11 games before they hit the bye. Your thoughts on that?
That's a tough 4-week stretch there, from week 8 to week 11. That is a tough 4-week stretch. The Falcons, they're a decent team, right? And they're playing in Atlanta. And then you have the Ravens, who are really good on a short week. And then you have the division rival, the Bills, and then you have to travel to Spain to play the Commanders. That's a tough 4 weeks there in the middle of the season. That's going to be a really tough stretch for them.
Absolutely. Even though they host the Chargers, this is going to be Harbaugh's second year, and now they understand. We talked about this before, where a new coach comes in, a new coordinator, so trying to understand their terminology, etc. The Chargers should be ready to go. So this is something that that you can't count that, hey, this is going to be an easy win. And same thing with the Carolina Panthers. So right there.
The Chargers were in the playoffs last year. I mean, they're no slouch, and like you said, that was in year 1 of Harbaugh, right? So yeah, I think the Chargers will definitely improve this year as well. So that I don't think that's an easy win at all.
Yeah. So for the Miami Dolphins, they look a little, they might be in trouble there. So in the 11 games, I'm going to go with 5-6, maybe 6-5.
I was thinking 5-6.
Yeah. I mean, I think you get the win from Cleveland. You get the win from the Jets. Maybe the Colts there.
Both. I think
Maybe
we need Panthers.
Atlanta. But I mean that's a stretch. Maybe Carolina. One of the either the Carolina or the New England. They're going to split that. So who knows?
Yep. I'm right there with you, right around that same number.
All right. So after the bye, there we have the last 6 games. We have home against New Orleans, and then they have 2 away games at the Jets, at Pittsburgh, which is going to be on a Monday Night Football game. There, they have 2 primetime. So the Monday Night Football at Week 15, they go to Week 16 where they have that Sunday night game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Then they have at Tampa, and then TBD at the New England Patriots. So for me, maybe they end up 3-3. So overall, I'm being nice.
8-9.
8-9, maybe on a good day 9-8, and that's being nice.
Yeah, that's right. I have them right around 8-9. And then like traditionally, well not traditionally, but historically, the Dolphins, they have all that speed, and then they start to get banged up, then they start playing in the cold winter months, and then that the last couple weeks of the season when it gets to December, especially their record is terrible in December, especially on road games.
Absolutely.
So that's something to look forward to, especially playing like at New England and Week 18. And I mean, it's freezing in New England in Week 18. That's last week of December, first week of January. What day? I don't know what day it is. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, they haven't. It's a TBD, so it could be January 3rd or 4th. It depends on how they want to do that. But you mentioned. And
you also have the Steelers 2 weeks before that.
Yeah.
They have snow games all the time with that lake effect snow coming in.
Yep.
So those 2 games are going to be tough for them.
You mentioned the away games for the Miami Dolphins. It's after the bye, they have 4 out of the last 6 they're going to be away. Where when you talk about the cold weather, you mentioned the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 15. They have the Jets right before that in Week 14. So that's 2 weather. The Miami Dolphins aren't used to that cold weather. And then, of course, Week 18, which could be possibly an opportunity for Miami to make a wild card, or either one of these teams. So that's going to be cold weather right there. The only other away game is just around the corner from Miami, which they play the Tampa Bay Bucks. So, don't. And again, there's another one that it's very cold. You never know in Cincinnati, where it is a Sunday night game in Cincinnati. It gets cold in December there, right around.
I think that one's home, isn't it? Yeah, Cincinnati's at home in Miami.
Oh, in Miami. I'm sorry. You're correct.
We're in Miami, in Cincinnati.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a true thing. And then that's about like where they've been the last couple seasons, right? They've been like a fringe wild card team, right? Right there. And then they've been having that late December collapse.
Yep.
So it's just something to look towards, like while you're betting and making your bets about Miami this season.
Absolutely. So that wraps up, of course, the AFC East. We'll be back for the NFC North shortly. Again, guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, just win bets, baby.